I'm going to start reading chapter 3 of Journey to Nowhere. And the title of the chapter is called The Turkey Drovers. I have no idea what a turkey drover is, so I'm hoping this chapter is going to fill us in and let us know. We crossed into Massachusetts and reached East Otis by noontime. So that's making me think I need to look at the map. So they crossed into Massachusetts because they started in Hartland, Connecticut. So I'm going to look at the map. Right, this is the map of her traveling. She started in Hartland, and East Otis is right here. They're just crossing the border between Connecticut and Massachusetts. So let's find out what happens. We found a spot outside of town by a glassy pond. Joshua and I ran down to the water's edge and stretched out in the grass. The trees were covered with the first blush of tiny leaves, making lace curtain patterns against the sky. Anybody hungry? Mama called as she pulled a basket from the wagon. She unpacked journey cakes and dried apples for lunch. Makes me think, I wonder what a journey cake is. Maybe I can put that down in my expedition binder as a question that maybe I can answer soon. Joshua gobbled his down, then licked the crumbs from his fingers. Journey cakes taste even better when you're on a real journey, he said. Maybe it's something sweet, if Joshua likes it. I'll find out, hopefully. Mama laughed and filled our cups with cold water she had drawn from the pond. The sun was high and warmed us some. It was a perfect day, and I was beginning to share Papa's excitement about our adventure. Maybe the wilderness wouldn't be as scary as I had thought. That makes me think Mem might be changing how she feels about the trip. So I know she just didn't want to go before. Papa took the team and Chloe to drink from the pond and then hitched them back to the wagon. Sophie had rooted around in the mud by the edge of the water. Best we press on, Papa said. We should try for Bard's Tavern by supper. We set off walking again. The road was hilly but dry, so there was no worry about getting stuck in the mud. Joshua got tired after the first hour, and Mama had to carry him, and then Mama got tired, and Joshua rode in the wagon. We had been hearing thunder in the distance for quite some time, and dark clouds began filling the sky. The rain started slowly at first, and we barely reached the town of Beckett and found the tavern before it came down in torrents. Papa arranged for our stay, then saw to the livestock while Mama took Joshua and me to look at our room. I'd never seen the inside of a tavern before, but I expected something more grand. This room is no bigger than a cupboard, Mama, I said. There's nothing but one bed in here, and that takes up every inch of space. What's in a room isn't important, Mem. Mama pulled down the coverlet and ran her hand over the sheet. It's what's not here that counts. What do you mean, Mama? Bed bugs, she said, and fleas and lice. This sheet looks clean. I've heard some places don't wash the bedclothes more than once a month. Besides, the room may be small, but at least we don't have to share it. You mean sometimes you have to share a room with strangers? Mama nodded. Even more, sometimes you have to share the bed with strangers. Esther Trammell wrote me. That's what happened to her and Thomas when they came out this way last year. She said the other man had such a bad cough. Ugh, the thought of sharing a bed sounded terrible. It made me shiver. We won't have to put up at a place like that, will we, Mama? Mama put her arm around my shoulder. Don't worry, Mem. If we come upon any place that bad, we'll simply stay in the wagon. The weather's getting warm. Even in a rainstorm, we don't have to sleep inside. There was no need to worry. Our tavern was a pleasant one, as were the taverns where we stayed the next several nights. They were clean with good food, and we had rooms to ourselves, nothing like the places Esther Trammell had described to Mama in her letters. But things started to change as we got farther west. In fact, things started changing right after we passed the Albany Post Road from New York City. So I'm going to go back to my map again, and I'm going to take a look. They were in East Otis, but now they're reaching close to the Albany Post Road, and I noticed Albany's here. So they've probably traveled from Hartford all the way to Albany, crossed from Connecticut into Massachusetts, and then over to New York. And she said that was several nights later, so they must have been traveling at least 3 or 4, maybe longer nights. Okay, let's find out what happens. The people that we met at a tavern farther on were a different matter. We had passed up a number of taverns because Mama didn't like the way they looked. Papa turned the team into the entrance of a tavern that looked just like the ones we had passed up. You're running out of choices, Ariella. I'll ask, but I think this might be the last tavern for a while. He walked over to talk to the stableman and came back to us. We'll have to stay here, no matter what it's like. It will be dark before we reach the next tavern. Even though our room didn't pass Mama's inspection, she gave in. The bedclothes are a bit dirty, but I don't see any signs of bugs. This will have to do. We'll just sleep in our clothes. Well, maybe we should sleep in the wagon, Mama, I said. Mama shook her head. No, the air smells like rain, and the trees were showing the backs of their leaves. We'll be better off inside. I never understood how Mama could smell rain long before the clouds appeared, but she was almost always right. And there was always a bad storm when Mama saw the backs of the leaves. She and Grandma both said rain smelling and leaf reading were part of a family tradition, but I didn't seem to have gotten that gift. We went downstairs in the tavern and found Papa where he had saved us places at a table. The tavern had filled up since we arrived. Mama and Joshua slid in next to Papa on the bench. I sat across from them. The tavern girl brought in our bread and stew. You folks enjoy your dinner now. Give me a call if you be needing anything else. My name is Molly. Molly came back shortly with an extra candlestick and lit it from one side of the table. This is yours to take back to your room when you are ready. Just then, there was a ruckus at the door as the 5 men tried to push and shove their way into the tavern. The people at the other table stopped talking, and they watched. Their boots tracked mud across the floor and dripped from the brims of the greasy hats. I can't believe they're here again, Molly said. They were just here last week. Who are they? Mama asked, pulling Joshua closer to her. Molly leaned down so she could answer Mama without the men overhearing. They are drovers. They bring livestock from the south and bring it to the western settlements, mostly turkeys. Papa laughed. Turkeys? How do you drive a herd of turkeys? Molly shrugged. I can't imagine, especially this bunch. 3 of the drovers came to my side of the table. The leader almost tipped a bench when he tried to sit next to me. I had to grab the table to keep it from falling backward. The other 2 sat on Mama's side of the table. Mama put her arms around me. Joshua put her arms around Joshua and pulled him closer. She didn't say anything to me, but her eyes told me to keep quiet and not look at them. There was such a stink about them. I couldn't help but look at them. Their clothes were soaked and smelled of what I thought were turkey droppings and tar. I figured getting soaked in the rain was the closest these men ever came to taking a bath or washing their clothes. The hands of the men next to me were so covered in tar that they looked like they were wearing black gloves. Just then, a sharp toe of Mama's shoe kicked my leg, so I had turned my attention to the meal. Papa tried to be friendly at first. You coming through here with some livestock? Yep, said the one next to me. Turkeys. My name is Graves. I'm the boss. Pleased to meet you, Papa said, reaching out to shake hands. I'm Jeremiah Nye, and this is my family. I'm wondering how you get a bunch of turkeys all going in the same direction. Graves said, Ain't easy. A couple of men walk ahead, scattering corn. The turkeys follow as long as they're hungry. The rest of us keep the stragglers in line. The red-headed drover next to Mama spoke up. Hard to keep them going in the rain. The birds are just so stupid they just look up in the sky with their beaks hanging open. If we don't keep them moving, they can drown. No, really? Papa asked. They drown? The drover spat on the floor. Sure do. We have to tar their feet, too. If a turkey's feet get wet, he dies. The mean-eyed drover spat on the floor, and then he smiled. That's cruel, I said. Hush, Ma'am, Mama said. Graves leaned toward me. What's that? You don't believe what we just told you? A kick from Mama made me hold my tongue, but Joshua took up where I left off. Mem said it's cruel to put tar on a turkey's feet. I saw Mama give Joshua a poke in the ribs. We finally went upstairs to find our room. I must have fallen asleep because I woke to Joshua's high-pitched whining. Mama, I need to use the chamber pot. Mama felt around in the dark until she found the candlestick. After she lit it from the sconce in the hallway, she searched all over the room and under the bed for the pot. There isn't a chamber pot here, she said. Well, there's a privy around the back, I said. I saw it when we pulled in. All right, you might as well come too, Mem. Wrap up your shawl around yourself. The rain had stopped, but water still dripped from the trees, and steam rose from the warm ground, making the lantern at the tavern entrance look like a hazy yellow moon. It was hard to see by the light of the single flickering candle. I stumbled on a large limb that must have blown down from one of the trees. We finally found the privy, but Joshua didn't want to go in. It looks scary, Mama. It's just like the privy we had at home, Mama said. I'll go in with you. No, wailed Joshua. I don't need to go anymore. Yes, you do, Mama said. 15 minutes from now, you'll be wanting me to bring you out here again. Mem, you go ahead while I give your brother a talking to. The smell inside was 10 times worse than our privy at home. They didn't even have a pail of lime or ashes to throw down the hole. No wonder it was so putrid. I finished in a hurry and decided if I had to go in the morning, I'd wait until I could find a place in the woods along the way. By the time I came out, Mama had talked Joshua into using the privy. I walked a little ways away, trying to get some good air to breathe. So I'm thinking about the word privy, and I bet some of you can guess what that could be. So Joshua wakes up in the middle of the night, and he's got to go, and there's no chamber pot. So in the 1800s, if you had to go to the bathroom, in some places, including homes and some taverns, there would be a pot underneath the bed that's where you would go to the bathroom. Kind of gross. If there wasn't one, you had to go out back to what was called a privy. Another synonym for privy is outhouse, but it would be like an outdoors bathroom. And it would basically be like a seat with a hole in the ground, and that's where you would go. So that's where they were heading to in the middle of the night, because Joshua had to go, and Mem wanted to take that chance to go herself too. So the next chapter we're going to be diving into for chapter 4 is called The Missing Locket. So we're going to find out what happens as they wake up in the morning at the tavern, and what happens the next day.